Good evening. Hello. We're going to get ready to call the meeting to order. And always may the decisions that are in this city hall be bathed in integrity, honesty, and truth. So I will call the meeting to order now. We'll conduct a meeting scheduled for July 28th and regular city council meeting of Tomball. We'd like to invite you to join us in our opening ceremonies. And so invocation will be led by Chaplain Gary Crow. Crow. Where'd he go? Right there. And our pledges will be by Ryan McGill, Boy Scout 928, Troop 928. So I can both.
Thank you. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather for this leadership meeting for our city. Father, we ask your presence in the decision-making process. Lead us as you always have and to guide us to make the right decisions, truthful, honest, and with service based for our community. Help us to come together. Help us be reasonable and just in our decision. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Hey, Ryan, come on up. Don't be afraid. You're all among friends. I just, as he walked in, he didn't know he was doing this. So.
Hello. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On my honor, Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is, right?
Did we do better, John?
Getting there. Yeah.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is public comments and receipt of petition. At this time, anyone will be allowed to speak on any matter other than personnel or matters of litigation for a length of time not to exceed 3 minutes. No council board discussion or action may take place on a matter until such matter has been placed on the agenda and posted in accordance with the law. Doris, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
I have one under general comments. I have a petition in an email under new business H1, unless you want to do the petition now.
And that was an email under H1?
Well, the email is part of the petition for H1.
Okay. We'll go ahead and do that under, we'll just wait until we get to
Okay.
H1 for that, but you have one
For general comments,
for general comments. Would you like to come up and speak? And
Earl Detweiler.
okay. What's your name and your address?
Earl Detweiler, 66 Texas Street, and that's Tomball. Good afternoon, Mayor Klein, city council members, friends, visitors. Motorcycle, we had a motorcycle patrolman, and if we can afford it, I'd like to see another one. They're proven to be very effective in traffic laws, especially in enforcement. It's there is an advantage point. They have a higher advantage point. They can see over cars, and it's easy to maneuver. So the ability to travel through congestion, and it's less noticeable than the police cars are, and its size too. That's it's smaller, and they can get to accidents a lot quicker, and you can count on them a little better. When cars are still stuck in traffic, the motorcycle patrolman can get right on up there to where he needs to be. However, there are disadvantages, and one of them is the cold, the elements, and the sun, rain, and of course, there's personal safety. The one disadvantage, another one would be you can't haul someone on it, so it'd be a single rider, more or less. Well, there's one more advantage, and then I won't. That's less gas. It's easy to park, much easier to park, and oh, by the way, they're nice to look at when they're nice and shined up and waxed up. So, thank you. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who has not signed up, but who would like to speak on 3 minutes about any subject at all? Except personnel matters and other items. Okay. That, they will close the public hearings. No, public comments, sorry. Okay, reports and moving on to presentations, reports and announcements. Okay. All right. That's right. I did that. Tomball City Pool is open 2022 swim season. Tuesday through Friday, noon to 8, Saturday and Sunday through August. End of the season is August 20th and 21st, 27th, 28th, and 3rd and 4th, and September 5th. The pool will open from 10 to 6. It'll be closed every Monday except Labor Day. It's open on Labor Day. Tomball Kids Club activities, July 19th, 21, 26, 28, August 2nd, 4, 9, and 11 at Jergens Park. And then August 5th is the 50th Annual Tomball Night Parade of Lights and Health and Wellness Expo. August 13th, second Saturday at the Depot. Do you know what the movie is? Not yet. September 9th through 12th, 9/11, 21st Anniversary Remembrance. An event to remember the events of 9/11 at the Depot. The details of that will be announced in August. September 17th, Groove Fest 2022, 11 to 6. And September 24th, Fiesta de Tomball, 11 to 6 at the Depot. So now, moving on to reports by city staff. Sasha?
Good evening, Council. I am happy to report on our wonderful July 4th celebration that took place 2 weeks ago. You can look at the pictures. We just put something together. The event was successful despite the fireworks cancellation. We were happy to have many people come out and enjoy the event. Lots of people dressed up in patriotic colors, lots of kids as well. And everyone enjoyed themselves. We had a huge military truck there that was presented by US Army, and then our wonderful mascots and a huge fun house area. So the kids were happy, the adults were happy and dancing, and everyone enjoyed themselves. We estimated there was 8,000 to 10,000 people attending. And yes, I am very thankful for our police officers, for our firefighters, as well as public works employees who really made this event happen. It was a work of art and love. Any questions?
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, yes. Anything else? Thank you.
Okay. Catherine Tapscott. Our quarterly investment report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I have for you the quarterly investment report for the quarter ending June 30th. Looking at our investment portfolio, we were at almost 64.5 million total of cash investment pools, investments and securities. Primarily our investments right now are in investment pools. It's extremely liquid. And we are earning a pretty good rate of return considering that the Fed has been increasing those interest rates. So compared to June 30, 2021, we had an increase of 7.1 million in our total portfolio. And then compared to the prior quarter ending March 31st, we had just a $430,000 increase. Primarily the increase year over year is due to increased sales tax collections. And we also had those art funds. So the 1.7, no, it's not 1.7, it's like 1.5 million. So half of the 2.9 that we've been allocated, we received that last summer. We expect to receive the second tranche of funds soon, hopefully next month, we'll see. Maturity diversification, primarily because we are in majority investment pools. We have an extremely liquid investment portfolio with 88% between 80 and 90 days maturity. Any questions? We have seen a increase in our investment earnings. It was starting in May, we started seeing those increases, which is great.
Yes,
I don't have any questions about this, Catherine, but congratulations on your recent marriage.
Oh, thank you. It was back in April. I'm just now getting around to changing the name. The whole process.
I practiced that. Okay,
Thank you.
no questions. Thank you, Catherine. Okay, the next item is minutes. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the July 5th, 2022 regular city council meeting minutes and the July 6th, 2022 special joint Tomball City Council and Tomball Economic Development meeting minutes.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? Okay. Call for the vote. All in favors? Oh, we have,
We should actually be able to vote tonight.
okay. All right.
There you go, refresh. Vote your conscience.
You can't tell them how to vote.
I did, I said vote your conscience. I didn't tell you how to vote.
I know, right?
You tell them how to operate. the
Motion
machine.
carries unanimously.
Okay, old business.
Are we ready to act on this tonight? Are we ready to act on this tonight?
Yes, there.
Okay, then tell us that now before we take it off the table.
Sure. The applicant has requested for an additional, if they could table the item for an additional 2 weeks until the August 1st meeting. They're still doing internal discussions on this particular project and requested some additional time.
Okay. So under old business, we will take no action. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And we will table it until the August 1st meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Okay, next item, new business. Presentation for a proposed green energy storage facility west of South Chestnut, Lizzie Lane, across from Chestnut Business Park. Doris, at this time, this was it H1 that,
Mhm.
okay, would like them to read or come up or?
I've received a signed petition by the concerned citizens of the South Chestnut and Lizzie Lane area of town, signed by 18 property owners. They're being rendered to show their opposition to item H1 under new business on the Tomball City Council agenda for tonight, 7/18. A related letter has also been submitted earlier via email. The email to the Honorable Mayor Lori Klein Quinn, City Manager David Esquivel, and all City of Tomball City Council members. It has been brought to our attention that the above named company is attempting to bring a battery storage unit facility to our area of town. The area includes the streets of South Chestnut, Lizzie Lane, Todd Street, South Live Oak, Ash, and Timken Road on the east side of town. This particular area is, however, zoned as residential according to the City of Tomball zoning map. We are submitting this letter to you to express our opposition to this facility being allowed to come into our residential area. Our concerns include safety hazards, among other things. We ask, one, are we turning our community into a battery island, a fire hazard with all the batteries being placed on a 9-acre tract of land surrounded by our homes? Two, are there any environmental issues that come along with this facility? Three, what is this proposed project safety track record? Four, what are the benefits to the city overall? We, the residents of the stated particular area, say no to this facility coming to our area. We do not want it near our homes and families. They are not welcome in our area of town. We suggest that Apex take their proposed project out further away from our homes, which are all right here within the city limits of town. Several of the residents of the area have already met with 3 representatives from Apex Clean Energy last week. We voiced our opposition to this matter to them personally at that time. We sincerely seek your support in not allowing this project to be built at this proposed location. Sincerely concerned and affected citizens of the local area.
Thank you. Nathan, would you like to come up?
Actually, Mayor, Council, Nathan Dietrich with the Community Development Division. I wanted to introduce you to Apex Energy. They have requested to come and make a presentation before council. And this is a non-action item tonight. It's just for presentation purposes and presentation purposes only. But they are here to show and kind of describe the location that they've chosen and explain a little bit more about their development. We have both Courtney and Jane, sorry. They're here to make the presentation.
That'll be fun.
Again, we appreciate your time. My name is Courtney McReynolds. I'm a development manager with Apex Clean Energy. We've been with the company for roughly 7 years, working primarily in Texas on wind and solar development down in the valley and around San Antonio and Houston area. Currently, I'm in the Mississippi and Louisiana region, just finishing up a few of the projects that we have here. This is my colleague, Jake.
Yeah, I'm Jake Steinman, Senior Development Manager with Apex. I've been with Apex for about 8 months now, primarily working in energy storage.
Thank you for your time. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'll hand this over to you. All right, so Apex Clean Energy, it is a renewable energy company. We're based out of Charlottesville, Virginia. We have projects across the country. I live in Portland, Texas. We have a wind project down there that we developed and constructed and do operate. We have over 300 employees that specialize in every aspect of clean energy. Again, as I said, we develop, we do construct, and we operate assets across North America. Apex does have the largest portfolio in the country when it comes to clean energy development. We have 7.6 gigawatts of commercialized production across more than 30 financed projects, 10 billion of utility scale projects completed, and 2.1 gigawatts being operated and managed by Apex. So what do we do? Apex specializes in utility scale clean energy projects. We are an energy solutions provider. We deliver turnkey projects, renewable energy, and management services. So yeah, just sit there. So we have an in-house team of subject matter experts that are focused on public engagement, engineering, land, permitting, resource assessment, and construction oversight during the development and construction. And then during operations, we also operate our projects, some of them, and have a remote operations team that oversees production monitoring as well. We have on-site maintenance folks who uphold contract management and regulatory compliance. And the project that we are looking to develop here in Tomball is a 100 megawatt battery storage facility. It's situated north of the Tomball 345 substation. The project will charge from the grid during low demand and discharge during peak demand. The project will serve the ERCOT electric grid and with reserves of stored energy and provide stability overall to grid operations. And also it does reduce the chances of grid failure. We are looking to have the project completed by the end of 2023. And to date, we have conducted several engineering and environmental studies, which are all showing very favorable results. I know one of the questions or concerns was safety. You know, we're also worth mentioning is the lithium iron phosphate, which is right now the safest battery technology out there right now. So I have, I'll hand it over to Jane. Oh, this is the location that we are looking at. So sorry. So you can see we're just north of the Tomball 345 substation, right off of Lizzie Lane. You can have it.
North is on the left side,
Yes,
just for
north is on the
clarification. So if I kind of go back real quick, so here it is with the aerial image. And here's just kind of a mock design that shows buildable area within the parcel. So of the 15 acres in the parcel, we would only look to utilize at most 9 acres with the hopes of really only using the 7 acres to the south of the distribution line that cuts the property in half. So you can see that we do have some wetlands out there that we're buffering, and some just other minor things, but ultimately, once we look at all of our studies that we've conducted, this is what we would look at for utilizing for the project. It's a little hard to see, but I just want to give you an idea on what the visibility of this project would look like. We would want to keep as much screening from the trees as possible. If you can't really see it, but in the closest, is there a laser on this? No. So on the northwest side, where the closest point is to the road, that's about 87 feet. It goes up to 137 as you move further north, and then at the most southern point, it's pretty dense there. I don't think we have a measurement up there. So when we took a look at this project to design it, we had the community in mind as far as, we understand that people don't want to see these things. They're utilitarian. They look like a substation, So we do our best to make sure that we can put out a good product that actually fits well into the community. And then just a little background on what what goes into the battery storage, so you can understand. So essentially, they're all comprised of either these like AA sized or cell phone battery sized cells, which fit into modules and then go into racks. And the racks are kind of the big basis of the facilities. You can think of them much like a server rack. You can actually pull the modules out and replace them with new batteries as they become worn out. Here's an example of a full unit. You see the container on the left, which holds the batteries. There's a DC-AC converter and then a transformer, which feeds into the substation. So that gets the voltage up to a scale that can be put onto a transmission line. Here's an example of one of the vendors that we're looking at for the system. There's 6 banks of batteries. This one is liquid cooled. It's a fairly quiet unit when it's operating. And here's an example of a 100 megawatt facility that's located in the UK. So you can get an idea of what these look like scale wise. Ours would be a tiny bit more spread out than this one, just so we can have more access between them. I think that there's everything for technology side of it.
Thank you so much for your time. Does council have any questions of them?
I've got a couple. This is, I guess, it'd be to you, Nathan. This is zone residential, isn't it?
That's correct.
So you'd have to do a zoning change.
Yes. That's correct. So under single family residential in this location, there is electrical substation is an allowable use within this area, within this type
This is
of
not
zone.
electrical, this is actually batteries.
So our land use,
Splitting hairs there.
well, our land use, so that sort of kind of right, is that our land use matrix does not take into all accounts of all types of land uses, but this is the most comparable that is out there. And when you look at it from, the way it's laid out, the height and the limitations of it, it is something that is allowed, but it's only allowed by a conditional use permit. So it all depends on, it still has to go through a process that comes before Planning and Zoning Commission and also through City Council.
Well, I can be straight up. I don't see zoning change there in that area. We picked on these people enough already that live in that area. We put all down persimmon, the commercial buildings, and that's a subdivision's been there forever. And so I can't see me being for this at all. I mean, it could be great, but not in that location.
I've got a couple of questions. You say fairly quiet compared to what, a freight train to?
No.
Jet engines going off? What is fairly quiet? That's
So-
subjective.
It is. And so we're actually conducting a noise modeling at the moment. I can't give you a full-on example of fairly quiet yet, but we'll have some better answers as we progress forward on that.
What is the substation measure right now?
So I don't know if you guys have been out there to the Center Point substation that's just to the south.
I try to stay away from electrical situations.
So that substation reads about 55 dB at the roadway. If you walk up to the gate, it's around 80. We had it, there was a similar facility modeled for a project in Ohio that was a bit bigger than this one. I want to say that they had it calculated about 65 dB at the fence line. And so that's purely like unbuffered, no noise mitigation at all. So, and as far as any potential like noises and nuisance, there's lots of things that you can do to mitigate it if it is in fact a problem. We would do a noise data collection at certain times of day before, during, and after construction of the facility if approved, so that we would know for sure 100%, documents in hand that it's not causing any more impact than, before it was there.
How many of these do you have existing in the United States? You referenced one to the UK, but how many do you have in the United States?
So Apex itself, we are constructing our first one as we speak.
Where is it at?
It is. It's in Texas. I'm not sure exactly where. It's a 16 megawatt facility. I want to say 64 megawatt hours. But as far as how many of these exist, I want to say there's 50 constructed
In the United States?
I might be Texas, 50 in Texas. 10 of them are an equivalent size to this. The most recent one constructed was is in Angleton, Texas, which was 100 megawatt 2-hour facility.
Angleton is a little bit different population-wise than we are here. They're a little more outlying. I was raised in Corpus, so I know very much about where you're from, young lady. And the wind farms are down there, and every time that I go down there, about 90% of them are shut off for some reason. I don't understand that. I understand solar power. I understand getting batteries. I understand all this electrical stuff that's going on because I've got a degree in electronics. I just don't think this is the place for that. I just don't believe that it is the place for that. Further south, further north, further west, where you're not in so much of your residential areas, I could concur. But this location, I'll be honest, straight up with you, I'm gonna vote no. And there's not much you can do to change my mind, to be honest.
I was just curious, why here? Is it because of the substation?
That's one of the largest draws is proximity to substations. That's one of the downfalls with battery technology currently is they're not effective with a long transmission. So the rate or the round trip return is not as good the further away from the substation you get. So in the line. Yeah. So I mean, that's why this was such it was such an attractive site because I mean, you don't often find parcels available for sale next to a substation. So, this was kind of a nice area and, it's definitely a good area for screening as well, so it'd be a very hidden project.
Chief, with lithium batteries, what's the fire hazard?
There's a high fire hazard with lithium batteries right now, but these are also not the cool batteries that they speak of. There was a fire in Arizona this year. I was just reading about it in March.
And what kind of apparatus and water and everything else did they have to pour on to put it out?
Water and lithium batteries.
I know that.
And
so water's not the answer.
So what's the answer, Chief?
These are actually lithium ion batteries, so it's not the lithium metal in them. So water is actually how you extinguish them. You put them out by keeping them cool. We have hired a consultant to do our risk and safety side of this project, and they have actually we've done a presentation for the fire department to kick off any questions they may have, and so we can make sure that we're answering all the questions that we need to, and that they're prepared for this type of project.
One of my gravest concerns, and this goes no matter what we're putting southeast of our town. Whatever plant, whatever chemical, whatever there is out there, prevailing winds for Tomball, Texas, out of the southeast. I don't want a fire in southeast Tomball taking whatever the pollutants are over our families and our livelihoods and that. So that's another reason why we built them.
Just from my knowledge, I assume you have to be next to the substation. That's where you want to be. But do you only sell your power if the substation goes down to that, or how does your model operate?
So we actually don't have control of well, okay, I take that back. There's a couple different ways to make batteries marketable. One is a PPA. So essentially we get ERCOT to sign an agreement that they'll pay us so much money for use of the battery, and it will always be available for them when they need it. So let's just say that they know that they're going to have a spike in energy demand. Then they can start prepping it to bring it online when that spike happens, which kind of turns off the load. And then, you can prevent rolling blackouts. So this facility would be a regional facility to support the transmission or ERCOT's transmission grid for the greater Houston area. So that's one way. There's also like arbitrage where we would hire a company to monitor to buy and sell power on the market, right? So when it's not peak demand, the power is cheaper, you would purchase it. When it goes up in demand, then you can sell it. So we haven't finalized an offtake for this project yet. We're still working through that. Ideally, I think we would like a utility to control it, especially in the area. So yeah.
I mean, are there other substations around that you could look at besides this particular one?
So during the prospecting period, when we're looking for these areas of interest, you're looking for a substation with adequate amounts of land, about 15 acres next to them. And, then you have to do injection analysis to see if that substation, what kind of capacity they have going on their lines. You really want larger substations. Those are the ones that are in greater need. And then from there, you go out and you start talking to the landowners. And I had 10 to 15, and a lot of folks they're interested in making the money. They don't, they're fine with it, but land is so expensive right now, the cost to purchase it, and nobody wants to lease land. They don't want to enter a contract for 25 years and tie up their land with so much new development and retail and stuff coming to a lot of the areas that we were looking at. And so, this particular one, they were interested, the land, though expensive, is, okay, it's going to be one of our first purchase options that we do. Typically, it's always leased land to our projects. So that's kind of what brought us to this area. And a lot of this stuff is done on the desktop, like just looking on Google Earth and seeing what's on the grid at some of these substations, what other projects might be coming to the area. That's a lot how the prospecting goes, for these projects. So that's what brought us to this area.
I mean, I understand as we grow as a population in that we're going to have to get additional energy sources. And it's going to have to be a combination of many things. It's not just going to all be electrical or battery or wind or petroleum, and that we have to use a bunch of them. But I do feel as though this location is probably not the best location for a project like this, but I do believe in the product that we need to look at other alternatives for additional sources of power. But I just don't feel as though this in that area would be the proper place for this product.
Do we have any other substations in this area that y'all would be interested in that are not right in the residential areas?
It's possible if you go back and look. I know that a lot of the other substations in the area don't have land that the folks were wanting to lease or sell at the time. It has been very difficult to just narrow it down and get as far as we've gotten with this project.
I mean, I don't think there's anybody on the dais that is against the technology, it's just the location.
Just the location.
Yeah.
Didn't y'all come to us a couple of years ago, or was that your company?
No,
That was a different company.
that was a different company. Yeah.
And there were also, I think, they also for battery storage. Yeah.
Same parcel or?
I think it was a gas generator.
Gas generator down there.
There's the gas generator. But for some reason, I'm thinking it was on the south side of.
It was a battery storage
It
facility.
was a gas generator that did have storage capacity.
Right.
It was on the south side of
Yeah.
Just look west of us.
Any other questions? Since it was a public hearing amount, is there any body who wants to come up and speak that with the H1? Welcome to if you want to. If not, it's fine.
All right. Yeah, thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. This is for presentation only. There's no action to be taken. Okay, next item on the agenda is to award and authorize the city manager to execute a professional service contract with Public Management, Inc. for grant administration services and a specific work authorization for grant administration services for the American Rescue Plan Act funds in the amount of $95,000 and authorize the expenditure of funds from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARP. I like ARP better. It's easier to say. Megan.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is to award RFP 2022-05 for grant administration services to public management. This contract actually has two parts. The first part of the contract will be for future grant opportunities the city may partake in, including application, preparation, administration, and project closeout with those. The second part to this contract will be a work authorization or a task authorization for the administration services for the ARP funds. That will total $95,000.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to award and authorize the execution of the professional services contract by the city manager.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, let's call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Next item. Next item is on the agenda is to accept petition and approve resolution number 2022-25, a resolution of the City Council of Tomball, Texas, calling for a public hearing on August 15th for the creation of the Tomball PID number 14 and being located within the city. Megan?
Yeah. Okay, this is a revised PID petition. The original PID petition was brought in May, which at that time council did not accept the petition or take action since it did not meet the minimum standards at that time based on our PID policy. Based on the recommendations from bond council staff and city council, they HMH Homes has revised their PID petition for tonight. As a reminder, in March, City Council did approve the city's PID policy outlining the requirements of PID eligibility, which included generating an economic and superior development, benefits, exceeding the development requirements, providing for improvements in the public right-of-way, meeting community needs, and then providing the unique or special development that provides benefits to our community. So not just to the actual development. We went further into that policy to ensure that we did have, for debt, we wanted to make sure that there was more standards into it. So they do have the minimum of 50 acres, as well as the general that's covered under the legislative. Seven Oaks does have an approved plan development on file. The basic point to this is that the plan development did not provide for any additional provisions for additional amenities. So what they are proposing is above and beyond their planned development as well. Okay. So a summary of this petition is the development is 19.34 acres. So it is below our 50 acres. Will consist of approximately 140 townhomes as they are giving up 2 lots to be dedicated to the public amenities. The PID petition would be for a reimbursement bond PID. We have worked with them and the sale of bonds will occur after 50% of the homes are completed with certificate of occupancies issued. This petition is being requested due to a 33% increase in the development cost. Just the general concept plan to show where their amenities will be located. Everything will be in the front of the neighborhood. Yes, that's right. So based on the approved PID policy, the PID petition does not meet our minimum requirements for the bond PID only because it is under the 50 acres at 19.34. However, the petition is considered, could be considered as offering a special or unique benefit to the community as it does offer standards that would be above, or amenities that are above our standards. Those special benefits include a fenced park area with parking that will have a playground, a covered pavilion with seating, grills, park benches, additional landscaping. The amenity pond will have a fountain with a walking trail, exercise equipment, decorative lighting, and then they're going to also include more, we're going to go with nicer fencing throughout the whole thing. They're going to explain that more. So based on this, the recommendation from staff is we are recommending that council accept the petition and call for the public hearing at the next meeting for consideration of Public Improvement District 14. So then the applicant has there as well.
Well,
Good evening. My name is Chad Wignall with History Maker Homes. I'd like to thank the mayor and all the city council members for your time this evening. So I would also like to thank city staff for all their due diligence and hard work that they've helped us through this process. They have been very intricate in getting us to this point, and hopefully we're able to move forward. I just want to thank them for their efforts. History Maker Homes did not intend to create a PID when we first bought this project. That's why we did not create one when we first started. Unfortunately, we bought on August 31st, 2021. Soon after that, I think everyone's aware of the development cost hikes that have happened, not due to anyone in this room, just tied to the pandemic. So the inflationary pressures driven by the pandemic, and to nobody's fault, has added nearly $3 million to this budget. This is just in development costs and doesn't even include the cost increases on the home building side. The creation of a PID will allow for sales price that will be closer to what we originally were aiming for the project. This is driven by the lower cost that PID provides so that our target customer, which is second generation Tomball residents, they're looking to move back to the area to be close to their parents, can afford a single family home. This gets us in the market for them. So our customers will actually, over the 30-year PID, pay less than they would with the current mortgage rates and the inflationary cost of your mortgage, which is about $38,500 at this point. If we're at $310 after the PID, a 30-year mortgage rate currently, well, you'll end up paying $16,000 more than what they'll pay in the 30-year PID. So everyone wins in the situation, the constituents win. We get to move forward with the project. So as Megan mentioned, as a sign of goodwill, History Maker will build about 50%, not about, we'll build 50%, occupy 50% of the homes before we request a bond. With the pending PID approval, History Maker agrees to construct the parks and amenities that Megan referred to. The fences along Holdreth, we will have the wrought iron fence along the pond so that the pond's visible with the water features visible from Holdreth. And then we're going to go with masonry fence along the other side where there's not the pond. So there's some privacy for the homeowners, but it's a nice masonry fence. And then all the way down the sides and back, it'll be caparel wood fence with wrought boards. And then although Seven Oaks is not a 50-acre tract, with our land plan, we are able to generate the revenue of a tract that's close to 50 acres. So being with the product that we have in there, in the 19.34 acres of the 141 lots, it does generate the revenue to sustain the PID. Our implied PID tax would be 0.72%, which is the lowest of any of the PIDs that are currently active or proposed in the city of Tomball. So we'll have less impact on our residents than other PIDs. Now, there's just a little more detail about the parks that we're putting in. So good sized playground, the workout equipment that'll be around the pond, your shade structure. Just an example of what the brick fence will look like, the wrought iron fence, and the fountain. This shows the product that we put into the neighborhood. So as you can tell, they're all real loaded. There's no garages on the front, so you don't have a lot of street parking. Gets rid of that. The neighborhood looks nice. HOA maintains all maintenance on the buildings, including mowing the lawns, paying water bills, For irrigation, the community stays looking nice through the HOA. We have had great success with this product in Balmoral and Sienna Plantation in the Houston area, as well as many markets in the Dallas area. This is again an overall land plan. Does anyone have any questions for me?
They may during the discussion time. We're going to go ahead and thank you. I'll entertain a motion to accept petition and approve resolution 2025, a resolution of the City Council of Tomball. And we're going to call for a public hearing on August 15th, 2022 for the creation of PID number 14 being located within the city. Have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, discussion?
I think they did what we asked them to do.
I'll just go on record. I don't vote for 30-year PID, so I will be voting no. That's just my position.
If we let them do this, we're getting away from the 50 acres, right? So what's gonna happen, next guy comes back and he said, I got 35 acres. And I want to do the same thing and I'm gonna give all these things. So I'm gonna have to agree with Mark over here.
Any other questions?
This is just putting it on for a public hearing. This is not approving the project or anything like that, correct?
That's correct.
Calling for a public hearing.
That's all it is. Just, okay.
For now. Yes, okay. So I have a motion and a second discussion. Let's call for the vote to have a public hearing on August 15th, 2022.
Motion carries 3 votes aye, 2 votes nay.
And again, this is to have the public hearing for August 15th, not to approve or disapprove the project.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Next item is consideration to approve zoning case 2022-205. Request by Michael Seeks for conditional use permit to allow an accessory residence with general retail zoning. Property is legally described as approximately 0.78 acres, being a portion of the Jesse Pruitt survey, abstract number 629. Property located at 817 East Main Street within the city of Tomball. Nathan?
Mayor Council, Nathan Dietrich, Community Development. As the mayor said, this is a request for a conditional use permit to allow for residential use in a general retail zoning district. And as previously stated, this is the location as hatched in the yellow area, north side of East Main, really right across from Concordia Lutheran School. And this has been a location that I'm sure most of you are aware of. It used to be a very big, large barn-like feature, and it was recently painted from blue to white as it's shown today. This warehouse building has existed on the subject property since 1978, and each of these buildings, along with the cabin that's in the rear, as you can see to the north side of the project, in each of these places predate the city of Tomball's adoption of zoning in 2008. And basically right now, each of these uses are considered legally non-conforming. So the reason for request is that this particular landowner purchased the property with the intent to make gradual improvements to the site. These improvements, he ended up constructing a carport and patio cover in the rear and placed a freight container to serve as accessories for the residents for storage and other ancillary purposes. But did so without asking for any building permits. These accessory structures do not meet the minimum building setback standards and ultimately require variance approvals by the Board of Adjustment. But in order to get this particular request to the Board of Adjustment, we needed to ensure that the land use was properly completed. And this is part of the way that staff helped structure this particular request, with the goal, if this were to be approved, this would then go to the Board of Adjustment for requested variances for the locations of the new shade structure and carport. Here are some photos of the site. The front is taken right from East Main on the north side, looking at the structure. And the picture to the right is of the residential use in the rear. And as you can see to the left of that structure, you'll see a carport, and immediately adjacent to that is that freight container that we were talking about, and another shade structure in the back for their personal use. Here's just another angle from that property. This is more taken from the entrance to the church that is immediately adjacent to here. And then this is taken from the rear of the property, looking back towards East Main. So immediately north, and some of the surrounding uses here, immediately north of them is a single-family residential neighborhood. And to the left is, as I said before, is the entrance to the church that is located into the north of them. And then east of them is a drainage channel, and then west is a vacant property. And here is a public notification map. As requested previously by City Council, we showed how many folks were in favor and opposed. You'll notice that within your packet, you received a letter from the church basically stating that they were in favor of what the landowner has done to the property at this particular time. So the property is designated as a neighborhood commercial in our future land use map. The category is intended for commercial uses that are developed with that appropriate context, scale, and design to complement residential development. Such land should be located in a close proximity to neighborhoods and residential land uses. Staff believes that the allowance of this live-work facility that's been in operation for many years appears consistent with the intent of this land use classification. So at P&Z, staff recommended approval with the following conditions: that all outdoor storage of equipment and material must be screened from residential zoning districts and street rights of way by opaque fence and or walls of a minimum of 6 feet in height. That said screening could be made, could be wood, metal, vegetation, or a combination thereof. Again, we would request that accessory residence would remain subordinate to the principal land use and shall be no greater than 25% of the square footage of the existing principal use. So it'd be 25% of the I guess the large metal structure that's out there, which is approximately 5,000 square feet. And then additionally, we would ask that an accessory residence shall be limited to no more than 1 story in height, to be in context and scale to the residential neighborhood to the rear of them. P&Z responded with votes of two votes yay, 1 vote nay, and the discussion items are as follows. They wanted to understand is that does the approval of the CUP grant, or the conditional use permit, pardon me, grant approval for the carport, storage container, and other locations? And the answer to that is no. They would have to follow all the appropriate rules and regulations as discussed before in going to the Board of Adjustment to make those requests. And then secondly, will the applicant need to obtain building permits for the carport and large storage container? And the answer to that is yes. If and when that goes to the next stage in this, then part of that request would have building come in, or they would apply for a building permit, and then the proper inspections would be done. So at this time, we can ask the applicant to come up. One thing that I'd like to make note of is that the public hearing was posted correctly. However, there was a small verbiage mistake that was made in the second part for the first reading. And so at this particular time, we can maintain with the public hearing, but we cannot make a consideration at this particular time for the first reading.
So first reading will be next.
First reading will be at the next meeting on August 1st. Yes, sir.
So we need to go ahead and call the public hearing
Call
now.
public hearing.
Thank you, Nathan. So next item on the agenda is to conduct a public hearing for case P 22-205. It is now 7 p.m. and we are open for the public hearing. Okay, so the applicant, please come up and speak.
I'm not Michael Seitz. I'm Joe Scott, a friend and colleague of Michael's. So I'm here on his behalf with his apology that he could not be here. I'll try to answer any questions that I can properly answer.
Well, if you don't have a statement to make, the council will get back to you with any questions.
Right, do you have 3 minutes you want to speak?
Is there anything you want to say? Because
Okay.
I don't have anything useful to say.
We don't have
All right.
questions tonight.
Thank you.
Well, it'll have to be on August 1st when they consider it. If they can't consider it.
So we
Okay.
can't ask questions.
No, not during public hearing.
Not during public hearing. Doris, is there anyone that has signed up for the public hearing?
No one has signed up.
Okay, is there anyone who has not signed up that would like to come up and talk on this particular item? All right, hearing none, we're going to close the public hearing at 7:01 p.m. And okay, and so we go ahead and adopt caption for the audience is posted and it will be withdrawn. The caption for ordinance 2216 was posted incorrectly and this item will be withdrawn and considered by council on August 1st. We don't report. Next item is on the agenda is to approve. So all we did was the public hearing on this item and questions will be on August 1st and the applicant can come and speak and then we can vote on it. Then. Next item on the agenda is to approve resolution number 2022-26, a resolution authorizing publication of notice of intent to issue certificates of obligation, approving the preparation of a preliminary office statement and approving other matters. Catherine.
So I know we discussed this briefly during the budget workshop, our plans to do a certificates of obligation issuance, but I have a brief presentation. Just outline the process. So the notice of intent is the first step in issuing certificates of obligation. So if this is approved, we can publish in the local newspaper and on our website the city's intent to issue the certificates of obligation. And this establishes our not to exceed amount. So right now this notice has 20.25 million. The 0.25 is to cover the debt issuance costs. So that doesn't mean we have to issue that amount. We can come in lower, but this is the maximum. And then this will allow us, if this is approved tonight, we can roll this into our property tax rate calculations, which should be coming soon. I'm hoping that the appraised values, the certified estimate comes in next week. But as discussed, we will front load this issuance and use existing fund balance to pay for that first year. But this does not obligate the city to actually move forward with issuing the debt. It's just the notice of intent to issue. In the timeline, there are many steps in the issuance, but this is step one of approving the notice of intent to issue. And then during the months of August and September, we would prepare the preliminary official statement and do the rating agency calls and due diligence calls. And then we would bring back on October 3rd, the ordinance to approve the issuance of the COs. And then the funding would be available at the end of October. And this has been updated from the budget workshop to reflect the correct total. These are the projects that have been identified. So the notice of intent includes a description of water and sewer systems, streets, sidewalks, and related infrastructure, including alley and rights of way improvements. And it also identifies potential property acquisitions. But these are the projects as part of the budget that have been identified for the funding. Any questions?
Questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2022-26. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Okay. Any discussion?
So the difference between the price you had on the graph there and I understand it's for 20 million, is that right? Or
That certificate of obligation issuance would be 20 million, but those are the projects that we've identified to use that funding
so we have
towards.
some other tag-ons that will get us to the 20.
Correct.
Got it.
There's additional things that I'm sure will pop up, or there could be costs. Costs are ever changing right now, as we know, so the cost that we budgeted could potentially move upward.
Got it.
Any other questions? Then let's call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Catherine. I wanted to let all of you know that at 4 o'clock this afternoon, we were all up here going through budget books for 2 hours before you came. It is public. If y'all would like to share in that, you're welcome to come to our next one, which is at 4 o'clock on August 1st, 2 hours before the council meeting. So that is why a lot of the questions that have been going and the details, it was very good. It was a very good meeting, lots of questions, and we're doing great.
Madam Mayor, I
Yes.
think we're gonna be here until health freeze is over because we don't have anything on the agenda for adjournment.
Yes, well,
I don't see it here on this, not in our notes.
well, it's on mine, it's on mine.
Don't we go for it? It didn't show up on the side? Okay.
It doesn't show up on that.
I got
Doesn't
adjourned.
have the
If hell does
dash.
freeze over, at least it'll be cooler than right now. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
I'm gonna second it.
okay, let's call for the vote. Any discussion? Call for the vote. That's one vote in favor of top freezing over. We're adjourned.